Good evening and welcome to the Planning Board meeting for the Town of Dudley on Wednesday, June 27th. Present this evening, Dan Edmiston, member, Kevin Sullivan, member, myself, Guy Horn Jr., Vice Chairman, and our Town Planner, Don Johnson. First item on the agenda for this evening is approval of meeting minutes from the June 13th meeting. They were sent out to us. I've reviewed them. They looked good to me. If somebody would like to make a motion.
Yeah, I've read them as well and reviewed them, and I find everything in order. I make a motion that we accept the minutes as submitted.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of accepting minutes from June 13th as written?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous? Okay. It's done. Second item on our agenda. Discussion, status report on finishing subdivisions of acceptance and unaccepted subdivision streets, including Pierpont Estates, Rocky Hill Estates, Piastre Road, Country View Estates, Tobin Farms. I believe we have Pierpont here tonight, although we do have was that public hearing scheduled for 7:15? All right, so I'm going to ask if we can take a few items out of order tonight because we were late getting started due to a Conservation Commission meeting. So I think the next item on the agenda will have to go down to the public hearing portion of the meeting and get that straightened out first, and then we can go back to the subdivision status. So at 7:15, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 5, the Dudley Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, June 27th, 2018 at 7:15 in the Dudley Municipal Complex, Room 321A, Dudley Municipal Complex, Veterans Memorial Hall, 71 West Main Street, Dudley, Mass. 01571, to review and receive public input on an article to amend the zoning bylaw and zoning map, which is expected to be on the warrant for the next available special town meeting. This article is as follows: to see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaws and zoning bylaws map relative to large-scale ground-mounted solar voltaic installations by amending Section 3.12.00 large-scale solar voltaic and 3.12.02 applicability. Second paragraph, by adding the following phrase immediately following the words, the town clerk, at the existing end of said paragraph, and shown on the map entitled Zoning Map Amended, Proposed Solar Overlay District, parcels 215-019-000-000 and 215-019-001-000, 99 Ramshorn Road, Dudley, Mass., dated March 2018, which map is hereby made part of the zoning bylaws and official zoning map and is on file in the office of the Planning Board and the Town Clerk. And by adopting the above referenced zoning map amendment per above referenced map, which is to be on file with the Town Clerk and the Planning Board, and by amending the existing zoning map to include said overlay district, the complete text of this article and associated maps in the Town of Dudley zoning, official zoning map, and the Town of Dudley zoning bylaws may be viewed in the Planning Board office or the Town Clerk's office, which are located in the Municipal Complex, 71 West Main Street, Dudley, Mass. 01571 during regular business hours. The Planning Board will receive public input at the public hearing. Any persons interested or wishing to be heard should appear at the place and time designated. If you wish to comment but are unable to attend, please submit written comments to the Planning Board office before 4:30 p.m. on June 27, 2018. Guy Horn Jr., Vice Chairman, Dudley Planning Board. And this was run 2 times in 2 consecutive weeks, June 13th and June 20th, and it was in the Telegram? It was in the Telegram. Okay, so we'll open the public hearing. So, I don't think we're going to have any public input.
Did we get any comments?
Did we get any comments?
Just a request to
No.
continue it if you...
Okay, so we did have a request to continue this, but I wanted to address that at this meeting. My fear is that we're not going to be able to do it at a later meeting because we won't have a quorum. This is the exact same article that we voted about 2 months ago for the previous town meeting.
Right.
I don't think the applicant's gonna be upset at all if we vote on it tonight, get it over with, because the last thing I wanna do is have the residents who live on that road not be able to get their road finished because the public hearing wasn't finalized. And like I said, this is the exact same thing we voted on, and I believe it was a unanimous vote the last time we voted on it.
Yeah.
So I think we should just vote on this, get it out of the way, get it off of our agenda. My plan is, whether or not we have a quorum on July 2nd, when we meet with the Board of Selectmen for the other member of the planning board, I will bring this up and let them know that this has been done. And I know in the last Board of Selectmen meeting, there was some talk about it coming back to the planning board. But just so you both know that there's really nothing left for the planning board to do. That subdivision is complete. It's almost 35 years old. The road is what it is. If the Board of Selectmen are also the highway commissioners, so if they want something done to that road to make it acceptable to them, they have in their employment the highway superintendent. The highway superintendent can make up a laundry list of what he wants done, give it to the town administrator. The town administrator can write that in a contract and bring it to this third-party solar company who's willing to make those improvements.
Well, that's either done or in the works, too.
Right, so, I mean, it doesn't have to come back to the planning board. I mean, listen to the name of our board. We're the planning board. This is nothing left to plan here. The road's in existence. The subdivision's 35 years old. There's no more covenant with the subdivision because the subdivision's been closed out. Previous planning boards have voted twice, to my knowledge, that this road should be accepted at town meeting. It went to town meeting twice and it was rejected twice. So, I mean, there's nothing left for us to do here.
I think they just have to send it back to the planning board for a simple recommendation based on statute, but that's it.
We'll give them the same recommendation we gave them the last 2 times, you know? But, I mean, honestly, the Board of Selectmen is the only board in town that can to negotiate a deal. We don't have legal right to do that, and they're also the highway superintendent, so they need to take that responsibility on and get what they want for that road to be complete to their satisfaction. So, I mean, it's not up to us. I mean, as far as the previous planning boards were concerned, it was done to their satisfaction, and they recommended it to be approved. So that's where we are as far as the road goes. So, barring that we don't have any public comment on this, does anybody else have any comments on this? We understand what we're voting on here. This is just the proposal to alter the overlay district for the solar
Correct.
project.
Right.
Okay. Right, so if we don't have any public comment, the board's all set. I'm gonna close the public hearing at 7:22. And, if somebody would like to make a motion, that we will, how should I phrase this?
Recommend
Amendment.
affirmative action.
Say that again?
Recommend affirmative action by the town meeting.
Yeah,
Affirmative action, that's not quite right either. Represent approval by the town meeting.
I would say with that, the planning board's gonna recommend the amendment to the, section 3.12.00 and section 3.12.02 to amend the large-scale solar voltaic zoning bylaws and the zoning overlay district for this project,
As written in the proposed article.
as written in the proposed article. And if somebody just wants to make the motion, they can just say so moved.
I'll make a motion that we accept the amendment to the text of section 3.
Recommend that the town meeting approve.
that the town meeting approves the amendment to the text, section 3.12.00, section 3.12.02.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
We have a second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous again? All right, so we can cross that off of the agenda. All right, so now we can go back to the subdivision issues. The first one on our list would be Pierpont Estates, and I think we have the parties here that we need to talk to this evening.
Could you sign in, please?
Mr. Chairman, if I could, while Mr. Sequeira is signing in, I'll just introduce myself. I'm Jeff Walsh. I'm with Graves Engineering, engineering consultant to the board here. I'm working for you, and obviously next to me is Tony Sequeira, the developer. I understand he's here to speak with you about a certain request, and I'm here to answer any engineering questions you might have of that request. So Tony's leading the charge here.
Okay, Tony.
Okay, the reason I'm here today is when I'm trying to finalize that subdivision, I realized that calls for granite at the catch basins, and you have about close to 100 double catch basins, which will be very costly to do. And so the reason I'm here is to see if we can waive those granite inverts.
And what would you propose in their place? Concrete?
No, it'll be the Cape Cod firm.
Oh, okay. So this is like the headstone that you're talking about? Like the headstone?
That is correct.
Okay, all right. So the structure underneath is precast concrete, that's staying the same?
That is correct. That is correct. My discussions with Tony were that he'd like to eliminate the granite catch basin inlet stones. I took a look at it from an engineering perspective. The stones basically afford additional hydraulic capacity beyond what just a catch basin grade offers. It can basically consists of a vertical channel within the stone that's 3 inches deep by 24 inches wide, that when the catch basin is constructed properly, there's that 3 inch by 24 inch vertical drop right down into the catch basin. And the nice thing about granite inlet stones, or concrete inlet stones, either one, if catch basin grates clog up with leaves, the water can fall into the catch basins through these slotted openings in the inlet stone. So that's, and that aside, again, it's additional hydraulic capacity beyond what the grate would offer, even if clogging were not an issue. I took the opportunity to go back. Don Johnson provided me the hydrology and stormwater report, which included pipe sizing calculations. And the pipe sizing calculations did just what they're supposed to do. They got down to every catch basin, so I could look at the flow to the catch basin inlets, looking at the grates and such. And I went back through those. I went back through your older subdivision rules and regs for which the subdivision was designed under. At that time, the design storm was a 50-year rational method storm. I'm gonna try not to get too technical, but a rational method is for pipe sizing. It's not the hydrology we look at for sizing stormwater basins. This method basically just size conveyances, whether they're pipes, swales. For this subdivision, like any other subdivision, it's for sizing pipes. But because it sized the pipe from the catch basin to the first drain manhole, I can look at the inlet, the flow to the inlet of the catch basin. So I went back through those calculations. I saw that, first of all, the regulations, again, were 50-year storm. The current regulations are for design of a 25-year storm, which is more typical. You see 10 to 25-year storms designed for the conveyances. So that was conservative to begin with. Secondly, what I took from my review of those sizing calculations is that the design engineer went a little more conservative than that. And that's reflected in the number of catch basins you'll see out in the subdivision. There's many more catch basins you'd see in this project than most. And in fact, many of the catch basins are double inlet grade. And Tony pointed out to myself and Don the other day when we were at the site that in a certain section within a few hundred feet, there's 3 sets of double catch basins, so 6 2-foot by 2-foot grades. So, you know, the argument that I heard is that capacity, I don't want to speak for you, Tony, but capacity didn't seem to be an issue. I went back through the numbers, and I in fact verified that if this board were willing to eliminate the catch basins, the granite inlet stones, the rest of the catch basins would be constructed as proposed. They're already in the ground, most of them, except for that loop section that's yet to be constructed. Most have double inlet grates, and there would be adequate capacity.
Okay.
One thing I would recommend to the board is that because of the slope of Noble Drive, that's the steepest street there, the cascade grates be used instead of the square hole grates that are currently on the catch basins. It's very common to use cascade grates. They have a vein that's got a little curve to them, so when the water's coming down in the gutter at a higher velocity, it gets into the catch basin better because it's got the vein to redirect it downward, unlike your other typical square hole grates.
It's not running over it.
I'm sorry?
It's going to prevent the water from just running over the drain.
That's correct. That's correct. Vehicles can still pass over it. It's got a surface. Mass DOT uses them all the time. The one thing about these cascade grates, there is a left and a right between the grates and the frames. If somebody were to put the wrong frame on the wrong side of the street, they'd all be pointing in the wrong direction.
Right.
But that aside, my advice to the board would be if you're willing to consider the waiver request, you just clarify that, you know, on slopes 5% or greater, cascade grate inlets be used. The curbing material, if the waiver is granted, the curbing material would be the bituminous berm that's going to be used elsewhere on the project would carry right by the back of the catch basin.
So Cape Cod berm will be replacing the granite?
That's correct.
To me, I can understand the hydrology portion of it partially, but to me, it's more of a quality of material that we're talking here. Is that accurate or off?
You're accurate that granite is a very durable material, and I'd never recommend that a municipality consider concrete. You'll see concrete used, and we're talking the stone behind the catch basin.
Right.
The rest of the subdivision is already approved with bituminous Cape Cod berm. So, as currently approved, Cape Cod berm comes along, and when there's a granite inlet stone at a catch basin, there has to be a transition stone on either side because the granite inlet is higher. So you've really got 3 stones at a catch basin, the two other stones transition down, and the bituminous berm ties into that, so that the snowplow coming along, if it were riding on the Cape Cod berm, it would ride up onto the transition stone over the head, over the granite inlet and back down the other side. So bituminous is already proposed throughout the subdivision except at the catch basins.
Yeah.
To your point, which is more durable, the granite's slightly more durable, but you've already got most of the project covered with bituminous Cape Cod berm anyways, so I don't see a big difference with durability at the catch basin inlets, because you're changing from granite to bituminous, given the fact that there's gonna be bituminous, Cape Cod bituminous throughout the subdivision. My experience with bituminous Cape Cod is that it's much more durable than the vertical bituminous that we call a bread loaf. It's shaped about like this. And what happens there is a plow is able to catch it and cast it. But my experience with Cape Cod berm is that if a plow catches it, it might leave a little scar. And I work for a number of municipalities, and when I go back into the subdivisions, when an applicant's before the board to be considered complete, and we walk the subdivision, you might see some scarring, but I've never seen any major problems with the functionality and how the bituminous Cape Cod berm is performing if it were installed correctly, unlike the bread loaf.
Right, so, my understanding is that the granite would be at the catch basins because it's more durable for the larger amount of water that's coming there. And the Cape Cod berm for this as a curb, more or less, you would have not the same concentration of water there. Did I understand you correctly? Let's say you said that you would not recommend concrete?
Well, I would never recommend to a municipality concrete in lieu of granite stones. Concrete inlet stones in lieu of granite stones, they don't hold up to the salt as well. And most municipalities are using more salt now than a number of years ago.
Okay, I was going to kind of recommend that we go concrete as a middle, but I didn't think of the salt angle, so that's an excellent point. Yep. And then just one question about the cascade grates. Did you recommend that we replace the existing grates with cascade grates, or just moving forward that we're using cascade grates?
I had recommended to Tony that any grates, whether they're installed now or to be installed, if the grade is 5% or greater, they be used.
Okay, thank you.
Tony can speak to
And I
it.
don't have a problem with that.
Oh, okay. Can I just ask a question to Graves? In any of the other subdivisions that you've inspected in town for us, do the other ones have the granite headstones, or do they all, I mean, because I'm thinking about my subdivision, and I know we don't have granite there, so is granite typical, or is the Cape Cod berm the typical way of going?
Well, most of them do have the Cape Cod berm throughout the subdivision. The question becomes, what was proposed at the
time.
catch basin inlets? Either no inlet stone or an inlet stone. And if it was no inlet stone, if it was an inlet stone, again, it would be granite.
Okay.
I can say that recently, last month and a half or so, I was out at Piasta Road with Don and the developer, because they want to move forward and finishing the last half of Piasta Road. That does not have granite inlets.
Okay.
We haven't done too many subdivisions in town.
With them?
Rocky Hill Estates, they're working on Dorothy Circle now. I really hadn't paid attention to the detail on either Dorothy Circle or in the rest of the area, Eagle Drive and Fairview. I was last out in that section about 12 years ago. I can't recall if there's granite inlet stones or not.
Okay.
I was involved with a couple others subdivisions, but my predecessor, I forget the name of the firm who had been here before us, they had worked through the construction part of those, and I just came in at the very end. And honestly, I can't remember one way or the other.
Well, this is going to be my 12th year on the board, and I've never had anyone come to us and ask about granite stones versus Cape Cod berm. As far as I can remember, everything's always been Cape Cod berm and no granite stones. So I don't think waiving them would be out of the ordinary from what we've already had in the past. It's just my opinion.
I know it's the board's decision, and I didn't want to try to sway you one way or the other. I looked at it from the engineering perspective. I wanted to know,
Right.
is there going to be a problem with functionality? I can tell you, traffic, keeping the cars in the road, that 4 feet of granite inlet stone versus bituminous is irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
Hydraulics, that's what I needed to look at, and I did thoroughly go through the hydraulics of numerous catch basins out on the site.
Right. And this, Tony, the subdivision is what, close to 15 years old now? How old is when did we start this subdivision?
About 10 years old,
10 years old? Okay.
10, 11. Yeah.
10 or 11, it
Yeah.
might have been '06 or '07. I can remember, we've been,
Yeah, 2006, 2007. We start 2006. Yeah, 2006.
So I think if you had a drainage problem, we would have found out about it long before now.
Well, there's just so many catch basins, and they all double catch basin. In the space like 80 feet, we have, I think we count 7 double catch basins in 80 feet.
Okay.
So, I mean, you can send the river over there on the reef. To me, it would be fine.
All right.
I do have a quick question for Graves Engineering. Lifespan-wise, replacing granite with Cape Cod berm, or how long would that stay intact? I know you said the salt corrodes the concrete more.
yeah. I think it's a wash, quite frankly. The
Mhm.
difference would be that many years, probably a few decades down the road from here, the granite stone could be removed and reused unless it was broken, but the bituminous would be replaced. You see that in, you know, places like Worcester. Some of the, if they're doing some road work, they might remove and reset the granite as long as the pieces aren't broken. Maybe they can use the broken pieces, cut them up and use them on other sections. But from that perspective, there's more longevity. But I think, you know, in the scheme of things where we're talking 6 feet at a catch basin or 8 feet at a catch basin, by the time you count the 3 stones spaced out every so often, it doesn't make any measurable difference in the economic side of the life of the project, I think.
Okay.
All right, so, is there any other questions?
Not on my part.
Okay, so then the first one, request vote to waive or modify details of drainage structures. So, basically, I think from what I gather from this discussion is that Tony's looking to waive the granite, headstones on the drainage structures, and in lieu of that, he is agreeable to do the cascading curved grates on any area that's larger than a 5% grade.
I'm okay with that.
All right. So would we have somebody that would want to make a motion for that request?
I'll make a motion to waive the details, calling for a granite inlet stone at the catch basins to replace it with a Cape Cod berm, and then also to replace all grates with cascade grates and any slopes that are 5% or greater.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
I
Aye.
Unanimous? That's all set. The next item for Pierpont Estates is renew, extend letter of credit, which is due on July 13th, 2018.
What is the question about the letter of credit?
Well, by the terms of it, it was good for a year. But the second paragraph reads, "It is a condition of this irrevocable stand-by letter of credit that it shall be deemed automatically extended without amendment for 1 year from the present or any future expiration date thereof, unless 30 days prior to any such date, we shall notify you in writing. We like not to consider this irrevocable stand-by letter of credit renewed," and so on. So in other words, every year it'll renew, but we should, you know, at least bring the bank up to speed and say that we want to renew it for a certain time, or do you have any other option you want to do at this time?
I'm
Surety?
planning to finish up that piece too at the same time, and hopefully by the end of July or middle of August, I should be done with, but again, I can also replace that letter of credit with cash. Because I have the cash I already paid the bank
Right.
for the letter, right?
So it's up to you, Tony. Either that letter's gonna renew itself on the, what is it, the 13th, yes. On the 13th, or if you step in and talk to the bank and you wanna, you can put up anything you want for a surety. If you have the cash, then that's fine. You can put it in an account and you'll have to bring a letter from the bank stating that you have the cash in the bank and give it to the treasurer, and he'll just hold that as a surety until you get the rest of this paving done. Once the paving's done, then you can come back to us and we can release that, and you're all set.
Fill
I
out
will
a
check with
form
the
to
bank
the
tomorrow.
states that we're holding the money for that purpose.
Right,
No, we can release it except for the planning board.
right.
So it'll be a form.
I'll check with the bank tomorrow, whatever we decide, but one way or the other,
Yeah.
like I said, the money is there already.
Okay. And did you catch what Don just said? In the letter that comes back to us from the bank, it basically has got to state something to the effect that the money's going to be held in that account, and it would only be released upon a vote of the planning board.
It's an agreement, standard agreement. You've probably seen those before.
Yeah,
at the town
same as
facility.
the letter that is in place right now.
Right.
Yeah.
So once you've got the paving done, and Graves goes out and inspects everything, and he sends us back a letter telling us everything's done, and it's up to the standards and the specifications that we all agreed to at the, with your covenant and everything, then we can release that money, and it goes back to you, basically.
Yeah, I'm working on my two last houses that I supposed to close around the 15th of next month. And then I have a crew that's gonna come in and start working on the worm, raising catch basins, all that stuff. So hopefully by, I would say maybe worst case by end of August,
Okay.
we'll be paved, sidewalks in place. everything.
So basically, you need something in place for these 45 days.
Yeah.
Whether it's an extension of this letter of credit, or if it's another letter that has the cash in the bank attached to it, that's fine.
Yeah, I'll check with them tomorrow.
However you want to do it, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay? All right, so
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just to speed up things a little bit. All right. Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome, Tony.
Thank you, Don.
Okay.
And good night.
Gentlemen, it was a pleasure. I'm going
Jeff-
to take this opportunity to run after you answer whatever question you have, guys.
Would you mind staying there for the next item on the agenda?
Glad to.
Okay.
Glad to. Take care, Tony.
Good night.
Seeing how you're here. The next item on our agenda, Rocky Hill Estates, and I think they have a representative here. Okay.
So I don't know what else there is to talk about.
So you got, the last meeting you were here, you were asking about the letter for the National Grid on the no streetlights. We
Yes,
got that all taken care of?
yes. He
Okay.
had sent it over National Grid.
Okay.
On, right, yep. So that's all taken care of. I said paid temporary service, so I think they're gonna do that ASAP.
So you want a release of a lot on this new cul-de-sac.
Right.
Has any of the binder course been put down yet?
The what cords?
The binder asphalt course?
First pavement.
First pavement in front of the lot.
No, not yet.
There's 2 layers of
Really?
pavement.
Sorry?
There are 2 layers of pavement. This will be the first one. We call it the
Right.
binder because it holds it together.
Okay, so
They were waiting for the,
Sure, I could give you an update of where they're at. As of this morning, they prepared the subgrade. The drainage is in, except for a flared end section at the pipe discharge point. The roadway has been prepared to subgrade. That means they're ready to place the gravel.
Yep.
And then once the gravel's placed, they'll be putting the binder course down. So to answer your question, no, the binder's not down now. And it's probably at least a week or 2 off, if not a little bit more.
Okay. So the situation we have is it's not typical for us to release a lot until the improvements are made in front of the lot. Meaning that the binder course is down, the utilities are in. Even if we gave you a lot release right now, if you went to the building inspector to ask for a building permit, he would deny it because the pavement's not there, or he should deny it because the pavement's not there. So if you would like us to release a lot, the easiest thing for us to do would be for you to get that portion of the roadway in front of that lot up to the binder course, get the rest of the utility work done, the drainage done, the subgrade of the gravel, and then at least the binder course. And typically, they put in berms when they do that too?
Not always. In the case of Pierpont, they might have done something because of the excessive, I shouldn't call it excessive, the steep grade
Okay,
going into the project. This road is much flatter. I'm not aware of any requirements
Right.
that say they have to do it. For erosion control purposes, they need to exercise whatever care and diligence they need to do, and if they choose to go with berms, that's one way to achieve it, but there are other ways. But without a doubt, in my opinion, the binder should be down. I know the emergency services need to have a good base to drive the vehicles on in case a worker gets hurt.
Right.
What about water drainage going down the gutters?
Drainage going down the gutters, what I'd like to see is that shortly after the binder is placed, that the catch basin grates be put in,
Okay.
so that there is the ability to get the stormwater runoff into the drainage system rather than have it run all the way down to Eagle Drive. Granted, the road's only, I forget the rough number's about 300 feet long, but nevertheless, it's gonna be prudent to open up the catch basins right away. And even if they don't have berm to direct the water in, they can use other things like hay bales or something to funnel the water
Right.
into the catch
So
basins.
the catch basin should be opened?
Yes, after the binder's placed.
Okay.
So does that give you the direction that you need?
Right, so after the binder is put down, we can
Right.
open up again.
And then typically in the past, what it's been has been a $3,000,
Right.
so
Yeah.
it would be the same situation. Do you have all the forms you need?
I do, and I don't know if we wanted to, so there's just an issue of amending the current form that we've been using, because there was another plan that was put in place for Boner Drive,
Okay,
Right.
so I don't know if that's,
It might be different, it's a different plan. I don't know if it's different lot numbers or not.
right, it was for A15.
We'll have to
was it the
specifically
plan?
refer, I think we'll have to refer to both plans in the release. Add a little bit to that paragraph, so we refer to both plans, so that anybody doing the title can follow along.
okay.
Right, so we'd have the overriding subdivision plan from 1987 or whatever it was, and then
Yeah.
also reference this
Right.
plan, okay.
Right.
I mean, that's something, it's fine,
Yeah,
I
just-
added it in,
You can work out the details with Don,
okay,
yeah, between the two of yous. All right,
okay, so I can come back, I guess.
all right, thank you.
Do you have a draft I can look at in the meantime?
Hmm?
Do you have a draft I can look at in the meantime and see if we,
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, right here,
okay, good,
do you want it now?
sure.
And thank you for hanging around, Jeff.
You're welcome, anytime. That was an easy one.
Okay,
My perspective. All right, good night, everybody. Good night.
all right. And if it's okay with the board, we do have an A&R plan that's not on the agenda
So they had
this evening,
but this one
and the
references-
people have been waiting here patiently, so I would like to ask that we take them next out of order on
So
our
I just
agenda,
kinda threw
because
them out there.
all the other people that were on the agenda that are here have now been served.
Oh, you want it?
So if you would come up, sir, and
You keep this too, I don't have a copy of this.
bring your plan.
Oh, and I have I can give you a copy of
If you don't mind signing in on our paper there, that'd be great.
that letter if you wanted it, changing the name, because I know there's confusion over the name. And I gave you the number. It's-
Yeah.
He told me what the name was, and he went ahead and named that after his wife instead, so. Greg's son-in-law. And that's after our grandmother. So that's what caused the confusion. I was never supposed to be Dorothy Circle. Yeah, so,
You work that out.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could we get a copy of the plan?
Want me to go?
Yeah. Yes. Could we get a copy of the plan?
Is there a copy of the plans for us?
The plans that you brought with you, could we see that up here, please?
It's on the card.
Oh, it's on the cart?
Copies were,
It's in the,
Okay, he's got them, sorry. Those are the additional copies.
These are the extras.
And do we have the folder with the paperwork?
thought that was.
Just make sure.
Yep.
There you go, sir.
Okay, so basically, this A&R plan is subdividing a 4-acre parcel out of The original parcel was 55, a little over 55 acres.
55, right?
Yeah. So it's a 4-acre parcel. It's on Corbin Road. It's a pretty flat parcel. There are 4 waivers requested, but actually 2 of them are not really waivers. They're just different than what we currently call for in our form. So the first one is the scale of the drawing. We usually ask for a 40-to-1, but because this is such a large parcel, they did it at 100-to-1. So that's one of the waivers that we would have to vote on. They're also looking for a waiver on the topography. We usually ask for 2-foot contours. They actually did it on 1-foot contours, which is better, so. And then the third waiver they're looking for is location of wetlands, resource area boundaries with the proposed lots, all upland calculations. If there are none, then the statement, there are no wetlands on lot number so-and-so must appear on the plan notes. They did delineate the wetlands. There's only one small little area. There's a pond right here. It's off the new parcel. But what they don't have is they don't have the note that says there's no wetlands on here, but you can clearly see there are no wetlands on this parcel that we're gonna be approving. And then the last thing that they're asking for was the profile of the existing grades, which is basically the driveway. And there is already an existing gravel road on the property, and they're gonna use the same existing gravel road as the driveway. And in that area, when you look at the topography, we're looking at a difference of less than 2 feet. So that's a very flat driveway.
Right.
So, saying that, I can give you a copy of this too, in case you want to make the motion. So it would be, basically, we would be looking at waiving 5B, 5E, 5G, and 5J. And on the submission checklist for the A&R plan.
So the waiver for the wetlands, is that because there is the overlap right over there, or is that because the text, there are no wetlands?
There's no note on the drawing that says that there's no wetlands on the lot,
Right.
but the wetlands were delineated, they're
Yeah.
off the lot, so anybody looking at this could see that there's no wetlands on there.
Yeah, we're just missing the text pretty much is how I understand that.
We're
yeah.
missing the text, yeah, so that's the only thing, going through the checklist, 2 of them, I wouldn't really consider waivers. I mean, the
Right.
scale is just because of the size of the parcel of
And
land.
topography.
The topography is better than what we typically get,
Mhm.
and in some cases, we waive topography altogether, so I mean, this is not so bad here. So basically, the real 2 waivers, if you get down to the nitty-gritty, is that there's no wetlands on the lot, but we're seeing that based on the flagging that was done on the entire parcel, and the profile of existing grades, which they're gonna use the currently existing driveway,
Yeah.
which we've waived in the past. So it's not really anything new. But I thought to be specific in how we do things, that we would just grant the waivers for those 4 items, because they're not exactly the way the checklist reads.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. This seems pretty straightforward to me.
Okay.
Yep.
Would somebody want to make a motion for those 4 waivers then?
I will. I make a motion that we accept waivers B, E, G, and J for the A&R plan on Corbin Road, deed book and page number 58635, page 327, in plan book 866, page 68, Dudley tax map 210, parcel number 7.
17.
17?
That's a
Parcel
one.
number 17.
That's a 1.
There you go.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
We have a second. I second the
We
motion.
have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. And finally, we would need a motion to accept the A&R plan of land for the book and page just described.
I'll make a motion to accept the A&R plan for the book and number as described.
Okay, do we have a second for that?
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to accept the A&R plan of land. All in favor?
I,
Unanimous? Okay, and Dawn, you have a check?
In the office.
Okay, so we're good.
do you need to sign it?
We need to sign, we need to sign 2 copies of this, which we have all here.
Just have room for one member who
Yeah.
want to sign.
Yep.
Who's the-
You can sign these 2 and I'll take care of that.
Deal.
Okay. There's some up here. I don't know which one, right? So there's some of them.
This one? Just need 2?
Want me to fold them up for you?
Dawn, here's the paperwork. No, the Mylar goes with Dawn. The Mylar, yep, and the paper goes with us.
Too crazy.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry for the wait.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We
You're
appreciate it.
You're welcome. Good luck with your build.
What's that? Oh, do this. Good idea.
Did we get the other 2 for the folder?
Yeah, I think I put them in there. There should be 4 pages in there.
Yep, should be good.
Okay. All right, great. Moving on. So, sorry for the,
It's good to record now?
Yep.
Yep.
Perfect.
Always check with your attorney.
What's that?
Always check with your attorney, though.
It's going to him. He's gonna do it. Thank you.
Sure.
Have a nice night.
I think he likes it here.
I think she likes it.
Yep.
It's her second visit. Night.
Good night.
Yeah.
Okay, so getting back to our agenda, we were able to cross off Pierpont, Rocky Hill. Next one on the list is Piasta Road. It's under C.
Nothing on that.
Still nothing?
Okay. The one after that would be Country View Estates, Eisenhower Drive. I know we sent a letter out or something,
Sure. We haven't heard.
still haven't heard anything from them. Okay. Tobin Farm Estates, have you heard anything from them?
We had I put together a couple of emails, and they're in your folder.
Okay,
That's right. Yep.
It's under E.
Remember, we made the recommendation not to accept it because of the dam?
Oh, yes,
That-
yes,
That property, anyway.
right.
They agreed.
Okay, yeah, so we don't, it's under, that's actually all under section B.
B?
Yeah. Right behind
There
Graves.
we go, okay.
Yep.
Yep. Remember reading it, just couldn't find it.
Okay, so, that's, at least that's taking care of the issue with the dam and the small piece of land. Okay, so that takes care of all of item agenda B. Moving on to
Before we
C.
move away from that, can we go back for a second?
Sure.
What does that leave the status of the rest of the subdivision? I want to check with the board first, and how they, the response on that, too. Next step is to assure that there's enough money in the
Right.
escrow account to pay for the engineering, surveying.
I mean, my hope was is that we were gonna get a laundry list, so to speak, from the developer saying, okay, this is what's done, this is what wasn't done, and this is what I'm gonna ask for waivers, because
Okay.
we need to know what has to be waived before we can waive it. And then, once we get that, whatever he's gonna request for waivers, we have to get an opinion from our, our town engineer who was just here, as to, what, if any, negative effect that's gonna have on the subdivision, based on, their inability to finish it. I mean, I know that one's even older than Pierpont Estates, so again, I think if there was like drainage issues there or something like that, I think we would have been made well aware of it long before now. So I know one of the things was that there's like a half-built drainage detention, and they were probably gonna ask for a waiver not to finish it. So obviously if that was necessary, that it needed to be finished, I think we would have heard from the neighbors that they've got drainage issues, and it would have had to been finished long before now. And the other thing that I know of that would probably be asked for waivers would be the street trees and the sidewalks. So we gotta figure out those two issues. The only thing that keeps coming back to me on the sidewalks is I read someplace, and this was a long time ago, so I don't remember where it was, but I read a case about a town in Massachusetts that had waived sidewalks. Typically, when we do have subdivisions that come before us, it's not untypical for the developer to come in and ask for a waiver for sidewalks on one side of the street, and it's typically granted. In this particular town, the waiver was granted for no sidewalks on either side of the street. And I guess in the beginning it was okay because the people who lived there didn't really care. But after some years, a house was resold, and the people who moved in had a daughter or a son that was in an electric wheelchair, was handicapped. And they had no sidewalks for her to access the street. And basically, they got represented, they were represented by the Americans with Disabilities. And the town was required to put sidewalks in on both sides of the street at taxpayers' expense, and because it was waived. And I wouldn't want to see that happen in the future. Right now, the people that live there may not have a problem with no sidewalks, but who knows who's going to live there 10 years from now. So that's my only fear with the sidewalk waiving.
I don't think whatever you're asking for waivers is hearing material because you're not changing the length of the width of the right-of-ways. Right-of-way, I should say.
Right, but I'm just saying that we,
And it's- yeah,
I know that the sidewalks in that subdivision were waived on one side.
I know it.
Half the subdivision has sidewalks on one side, the other half's not gonna have any. So I'm just saying, what happens if somebody moves back there? And a similar situation comes about, you know, are the taxpayers of Dudley gonna pay to finish the sidewalks or not?
Betterments?
I don't know how you deal with it. So I think before we get to that point, we'd have to talk to town council and see if there's a situation that would cover us, or do we need to come up with a different plan? That's my only concern.
You want me to consult town council on that then?
Hmm?
I don't know if I can do that right away. We just hired town council.
No, I mean, I don't think we're gonna finish this, like, tomorrow.
No, I mean, over the next month or so, I mean. so
Yeah.
it's- Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, just kinda keep that in the back of your mind, that,
right.
you know, first of all, we have to get the list of requested waivers. We don't
Right.
even have a list of requested waivers.
Yeah.
And if that's one of the items that they're requesting to waive, then we have to find out for sure, does that have any negative effect? And if it does it put the responsibility of sidewalks onto the town of Dudley, or can we still impose it onto the developer, or how does it work? You know, how are we covered?
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's got me a little bit nervous. I mean, like I said, if there was a problem with the drainage, I'm sure we would have known about it before now. The drainage doesn't really have me concerned. Or the street trees, the sidewalk, yeah, that might be a problem. So,
We'll work on it with West Known developer, George.
okay, so that should finish up D. Does anybody else have any questions on those particular subdivisions?
No questions.
Okay, so we can finish up B. We'll move on to C. Final inspections associated with site plans, including Dunkin Donuts.
Well, I took a look at it with Nelson a couple days back. It's mostly all done, according to plan. And just two things that we found. There was a third one, too, but I think it was this. There's island poles and two light poles, there's only one installed, so, the developer agreed to put another light pole on as the plan showed.
Okay,
And he calls for 6 foot vinyl fence over there.
it's N, 6-foot high, solid vinyl fence, yeah.
He's asking to waive the fence.
Okay.
The stop line drive lock place is pretty far back because it's around the curve. So it's not right up the street line. So it's kind of far back, and the stop line, I don't think you can really see. We're going to want provision clearances if traffic comes up West Main Street, uphill. And you wanted a lot of, pretty some pretty decent vision clearance over here, and maybe that will instruct it, I don't know. If they,
Was that their reasoning for asking for the waiver?
well, either that or they just didn't like it.
And,
So residents over here?
yeah,
It's is it mixed use? It's
It's the
an
residence
antique
behind
store
it.
or something.
yeah, the residence is behind.
There's a
it, so
residence
it's a
here.
little bit
Oh,
offset.
yeah.
The two-family over there.
Yeah,
So for just so that you'll know, the reason that this was probably put in the plan in the first place is in our site plan review bylaw. There is a section in there that calls off that there should be some kind of screening on a commercial property like this. There should be some kind of screening to screen the parking from any residential areas. So, that's probably why it was put on the plan originally.
Only 6 feet as opposed to 8.
Well, yeah, 8
It's not,
feet.
that's not for vision, it's
eight-
more for the low lane
Yeah,
parking
eight-
spots.
Right, basically to hide the cars.
Yep.
There's also a provision in that same bylaw that says the screening could also be hedges, bushes, shrubs, or even a lower fence. I mean, I think I do remember reading something about 4-foot minimum fence is allowed.
I mean, I think aesthetic-wise, a hedge or shrub would be better looking and sufficient, but a shorter fence as well. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd like to be something there, but driving up and down West Main Street, I mean, a 6-foot fence I think would definitely
Yeah.
block that whole road.
And be an eyesore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I think if the developer and the applicant was willing, I'd be more apt to waive the 6-foot fence for some kind of landscape screening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna probably have to get a certain kind of shrub that will take the winters and the sand and salt from the road that being right adjacent to it, but, yeah, there's some that'll stand up to it, and there's also, in the wintertime, they have they can, if it's an evergreen type of bush, you can wrap it up for the winter and try to protect it some, because, they're gonna probably be snow plowing in that area anyways. So,
Yeah. I think that'll be sufficient.
Leave it open far enough so that you have the vision clearance.
right, yeah, I mean, if they only end up screening the last 2 parking spots, I mean, one of these is handicapped, so it's not like, and this is mainly a drive-through. I believe this is gonna be, the parking over here is gonna be for the people that work there.
It's really strictly for employees.
Yeah, and these 1 or 2 spots over here are basically gonna be for people that order something that can't be made in a short amount of time, then they'll have to wait there for a minute until they can bring it out to them.
And then they drive around the end,
Right,
stay over there and eat and
start
go.
over.
Definitely-
But I mean, yeah, I've been by it, it looks great, I mean, they did a very nice job. I mean, all the infrastructure that's done out by the road is all new, everything is, they've gone, they did pretty much exactly what they said they were gonna do with the exception of the fence. And, you said that the gates were coming for the,
Yeah, they're coming from somewhere else in the country, so
Okay.
they're on order. They just-
cause I did notice driving by that the dumpster enclosure didn't have gates on it, and I was just
Well, what-
nervous that some kids would come along and push the dumpster down the street or something.
Imagine a dumpster diving.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that'd be reasonable though.
So do you think we should take a vote on that so that you can inform the developer? Okay.
What Nelson would be doing is to give them temporary occupancy, a 30-day period to
Until they
get
can,
the doors on, the enclosure and everything.
right, fix the other light and put some shrubbery or something in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
How high should the shrubbery be?
Minimum 4 feet if we're looking to shorten the fence.
Yeah,
Say
but,
4 feet.
I mean, you gotta have something that's gonna grow though. I would say you start them out at minimum of 3 feet, cause you wanna give it some room to grow.
Mm-hmm.
If you start them out at 4 feet, they're gonna be 10 feet in no time, so. I'd say 3 to 4 feet to start, and then, try to cap it at 6 foot maximum. A
So you
species,
trimming them too.
yeah, a species that would grow to that height. I'm sure there's something that grows to that height.
Yeah.
range.
Should have a whole list.
The back of the zoning book, there's all kinds of native
God, yeah.
species, like pages of it,
Yeah.
so
So this would be a 30-day
temporary occupancy,
temporary occupancy.
yeah. Okay, so I would entertain a motion for the proposed Dunkin Donuts drive-through on West Main Street. Their site plan to have a minor modification here, basically to remove a 6-foot-high privacy fence on the, north?
What?
Yep, on the western side of the project along Ardlock Place, and replace that with a 3 to 4 foot high shrub or yeah, or if they wanted to do a 4-foot fence, yeah, I mean, you can give them the option if they'd rather do a 4-foot fence.
No maintenance with the fence?
Yeah, I mean, let them decide, 4-foot fence or 3 to 4 foot shrubs, just something to give some screening to those parking spots.
Preferably shrubbery.
Yeah, preferably the shrubbery, but whatever. And that way there, they could get their temporary 30-day occupancy permit. So, somebody be interested in making that motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that the Dunkin Donuts on West Main Street at the corner of Ardlock Place be granted a waiver to replace the 6-foot fence along Ardlock Place on the west side with either a preferred 3 to 4 foot shrubbery growing to a maximum of 6 feet, or optional, a 4-foot fence.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second that motion?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
I,
Unanimous. So it gives them a couple of options.
Separate motions for the light fixture or the,
No, that's gonna fall under Nelson's to make sure that, they're not asking for a waiver, they just have to put it in.
just need the extension of time
Right.
to install it.
It'll ultimately be there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that takes care of Dunkin' Donuts, and we have one, B, item B under agenda item C is AMP Solar.
Been in contact with, some of you may remember Luke.
Yep.
Luke, who was the developer.
Say that again?
Luke, what was his last name? Luke Ricard, I believe.
Okay,
He's the developer's representative for starting this project.
so this is the one that's out in West Dudley by Fish Road?
Right.
Okay,
Completion is pretty close.
Okay.
So I've been in touch with him to make sure that we have adequate funding for the inspection, final inspection.
okay,
And Graves Engineering will be doing that too.
okay. So we'll get
So myself.
we'll get a final report from Jeff.
Right.
Okay, that's fine. All right, and we already did the public hearing. And that takes us all the way down to unfinished and old business, not a public hearing. Discussion on the status of economic development planning, including integration of 2015 Village District Study and scheduling a Village District Walk. And item B is Phase 2 Economic Development Strategic Plan, commencement of Phase 2 Work Plan.
Well, we're back to at least sometime after July 16th, because that's when the selectmen are meeting to
Okay,
appoint a new member.
okay.
And I haven't heard on the other thing from CMRPC either.
Okay. All right. I guess we'll have that,
Still waiting for additional funding, apparently.
we'll have that for a couple more agenda items at least. And any comments from the planning board?
none here.
None.
Okay. And
On approval of vouchers.
I don't think we have any
We're going to have
comments.
the
from-
executive committee here.
Yeah, so you're gonna have an issue because you don't have, but maybe you could ask, Pam if she could come
I
in
think
and
you take a
sign.
vote to appoint one of these gentlemen as a acting clerk to the board for.
How about acting chairman?
It's all you got. I'm gonna need new advice.
Whatever it may be. I think you can do that. You do that, you put 3 signatures.
That's fine.
Yeah.
We can all sign it. It'll get paid. Is there anything over $10,000?
No, I don't think so. What about 3 quotes?
Yeah, so we'll just sign the invoices.
Okay. Town planner's plate is the, met with our new town council, our representatives on Monday morning, late Monday morning. And we've hired KP Law. Now they're bringing it up to speed on what's before the board. I wrote it on here.
As long as they passed muster with you, Don.
What they do.
They represent like more than half the towns in Massachusetts, right?
Oh, 361, they represent 180 or something like that. It's
Yeah,
about
it's
half.
about half.
Wow.
just sign next to me, and we'll have Kevin sign them also. All right, so cleaner's plate. I don't think we're gonna get any comments from our audience. If there's nothing else, we just have these vouchers to sign. I can entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn after we sign these vouchers.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn after the vouchers are signed. Do we have a second?
I will second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
All right?
Unanimous. Thank you. Good night, everybody.